Hello, and welcome to my overview of the Anvil Hurricane. I've made it no secret that I've been a big fan of Anvil for a long time now. Some people go in for the slick lines of the Asia ships, and I don't blame them, or gravitate towards the futuristic comfort of Origin, or the gritty feel of a Drake ship. But for me, I'm more practical in what I look for out of a ship. Give me dependability, a thick hide, and plenty of firepower anytime, and I'll be a happy space cowboy. The Hurricane is yet another ship that I've dismissed at first from the moment they mentioned glass cannon, something I never expected out of an Anvil ship, and didn't pay much attention to it till now. As usual, I want to start out by taking a look at the ship's model's complexity and how well it's been constructed and overall design. If you take ships like the Hurricane and the Terrapin and compare them to older Anvil designed ships like the Hornet, you'll see just how far they've progressed over time. The ships just keep looking better and better with each one that gets made. It's inspiring to see this happen and makes me look forward to what's coming next. The gimbaled guns, turret, landing gear, and seats all animate, but that's not what this ship is all about. It's not meant to impress with flashy animations. Instead, it says notice me with bullets. The cockpit's design has a great rustic World War II feel to it with all of the buttons, dials, and switches that you can see lining the console. The pilot's field of view is open and unobstructed and has a nice openness to its peripheral view as well. The ship feels surprisingly nimble, not nearly on the same level as a light fighter mind you, but it still has a lot more maneuverability than I expected from its description and from its stats on the ship matrix. So let's take a second and move over from the cockpit to the turret. The turret has a wide open view that's framed by just a hint of armor plating that only appears along the edges of your peripheral vision, giving the feeling of protection while still providing the best possible field of view to locate targets with. Much like the Terrapin, I love the walls of MFDs that line your view in a horizontal row instead of stacking them the way other ships do. This is becoming a staple in Anvil's interior design, one that I highly approve of. So let's move on and take a look at the Hurricane's impressive allotment of weapons. The front guns, which are controlled by the pilot, are a pair of gimbaled size 3s. You can replace them with two fixed size 2.4s like ballistic combines, but the Hurricane's default power supply will be too weak to handle that change and the turret's guns without an upgrade. The turret itself is the equivalent of having a saber strapped to the top of your ship. Its 4 size 3 guns are not only the most powerful turret in the game for a ship of its size, but gives an impressive 360-degree coverage around the ship. At one point the devs were asked if the Hurricane has the equivalent of a saber for a turret, then why not just bring a faster, tankier saber into battle instead? In response, they stated that unlike the saber, the Hurricane can fly broadside of a ship and keep firing on it the entire time during a run, while the saber can only sustain fire while facing an enemy ship and leaves itself open when maneuvering around for a second run at it, while the Hurricane can sustain fire for the entire duration of the run. Also, in response to the glass cannon aspect of the ship, it was said that the Hurricane was meant to be flown in a wing and not alone. The lack of armor was done to reinforce this aspect of it. It was never meant to be flown front and center as a solo ship, and certain checks and balances had to be applied to it to justify the sheer firepower that it brings to the table. Because if they didn't, this would become the new ship killer and would easily threaten to unbalance gameplay. The best synergy for this ship would be to pair it off with a Super Hornet that can run interference with any incoming enemy fire, while the Hurricane tries to outflank them and lay down a blanket of gunfire. Its slower speed matches the Hornet's better than something like the Saber, which would have a tendency to use its speed in combat and would get too far away from the Hurricane without even noticing. If I had the funds, I'd add this to my fleet in an instant. It's going to be a great support vessel in combat and a necessary addition to any wing of fighters that you send into battle. It's a good ship. You just have to know its place and respect its limitations. If you do so, this is going to be a fun and rewarding ship to use in large-scale skirmishes with other light, medium, and heavy fighters, not to mention being equally as effective when used against some medium and larger ships as well. This is Law of the West, saying take care, and you can always score your success by counting the number of vultures that start following you around.